I have no idea where to start. So I'll start with honesty. I don't want to make this video at all. And I don't want to make this video because I'd rather play the game. I've been playing it for days and I really need to talk about it, but I don't want to switch it off. And I think that in terms of a review, this speaks volumes. I like this game so much, I don't feel like taking a break even to gush over it. It means the game is good. Hi, it's Leaf, and today we're talking about Fields of Mistria. I love this little gem. I don't know if calling it that is even fair because it's by no means little, but that's what I see it as, a filigree bauble made by fairies with sparkling little chisels. That charm, that attention to detail. It feels as if the devs came up to me, smiled, and hit me square in the face with a huge hammer made of pink cotton candy. And I'm not saying that because the game is cute. I mean, it is very cute. But that's not the main reason I feel like I'm floating in the clouds, slightly dazed. The amount of work and thought that went into all the details, the conversations, the design, the mechanics, actually makes my head spin a little. There's so much I want to talk about. I honestly don't know where to begin, so I'll probably not mention everything. I'll just talk and see what happens. When I first discovered Fields of Mistria, there wasn't even a playable demo yet. And I didn't even watch the trailer. I saw the main promotional picture, a couple of screens, and thought, oh, an overly simplistic graphic design and such ugly colors. And indeed, that particular combo of milky pastel shades is one of my least favorite elements of this game, especially the pale bluish grass. I think that pale bluish green is my least favorite color of all times. And combined with the very clean, simple design of the environments, it looks somewhat childish. So I looked at it and I didn't really like it, and then there was the girl, beautifully designed but representing my least favorite female character type in all of anime. Pleasant, pretty, well-mannered and respectable. And she also wore that horrible pale bluish green color. Oh hell no! But I'm a sucker for fantasy farm sims, so I added the game to my wishlist just in case. And then I played the demo. And oh boy, to say that it surprised me would be an understatement. I should have known the moment I saw the graphic design that this game is supposed to be one big nostalgia trip. I hear the general aesthetics are a shout out to games for, I think, Game Boy Advance, and generally old school farm sims. The thing is, I never played any of those, and I never owned a Game Boy. But apparently the specific pastel color scheme is a big nod to that. Well, no rose-tinted glasses for me, I still don't like it that much, and Stardew Valley was actually my first contact with the genre. What can I say? I'm a late bloomer. It doesn't mean, however, that the locations look bad. Oh no, objectively, they are very neat, very clean looking, just aesthetically, they're not exactly my cup of tea. But the character design is a completely different matter. First of all, pixel art is of the highest quality. Besides, the design itself is this gorgeous, soft anime style from the 80s and early 90s, which is exactly what I grew up with. You can see the influence of other eras as well, but the turn of those two particular decades is noticeable throughout the entire game, and it even made its way into the wardrobe of the characters. NPC clothes are in fact so well designed. Seeing them for the first time every season was an actual treat, because yes, they have a set of clothes for every season. And there's this lovely mix of fantasy-themed and normal clothes, and everything looks so good and so on point. Whoever is responsible for this is a genius. Okay, so the characters look great, but are they any good? Yes, they are pure joy. There are clear shoutouts to certain character types from anime, even perhaps to some specific characters, so they all feel kind of familiar, but in a very, very good way. Not to mention they are all well written. Everyone has their own personality, with their own quirks, likes, dislikes, and everyone is nice. Well, with some exceptions, but even the seemingly unapproachable ones manage to be mean in a somehow nostalgic and heartwarming way. They literally make me go, aww. I've played other games where characters were all nice and positive, and it sometimes felt almost aggressive. There was something insincere about the way they were written. In this game, everything feels genuinely cozy and warm and simply makes me happy. Besides, the quality of the dialogues is yet another praiseworthy thing about this game. They flow well, they're interesting, innocent and childish when they need to be, but also mature enough and intelligent when the situation calls for it. It's a delight. One of the best things about the dialogue are the group conversations and the fact that the NPCs sometimes refer to them later. There's a wonderful continuity not only to the main story, but also to those everyday, mundane affairs. People react to one another and they react to the player character's accomplishments. They have meals together, they work together, and on Fridays, they all go to the inn to enjoy group activities that, 1, are non-repeatable, meaning the story of each group moves forward during subsequent visits, and 2, the activities change every 4 weeks. Technically every season, but if you skip a few times like I did, don't worry, you won't miss anything as the story picks up exactly where you left off. The amount of unique dialogue is staggering, and the town simply feels alive. When it comes to gameplay, Fields of Mistria is kinda like all farm sims I've ever played combined, with a dash of its own personality and a few extra features. We can grow crops, keep farm animals, craft, cook, fish, go mining, fight monsters, donate to the museum obviously, catch bugs, improve the town and its rank, cast spells, level up our skills, choose perks. We can also alter our looks at any point. We can set multiple outfits and change them at will, and we can jump and swim. So, not too shabby. Combat can be a bit annoying at times, but the monsters themselves are interestingly designed and all have their very specific ways of attacking, but also they can be defeated using their abilities and weaknesses against them. It's fun. The only problem I have with the combat here is that we only attack in the direction we're facing, and our character will not follow the mouse, but only the movement keys, and that requires rather precise initial aiming. What's worse, the basic sword attack has 3 consequent moves that makes us travel forward, and we can't change the direction when we're in the middle of this attack. I mean, we can, if we stop frantically clicking the mouse, which stops the animation altogether, but it can be quite difficult before we get used to it. So, combat actually requires some tactical thinking and a fair dose of restraint and control. The biggest problem is that it can take quite long, especially before we learn it, and days are short, so going through those 5 levels of mines to unlock the elevator is not always as easy as it seems. However, of course, it's all doable. I do actually have 2 serious complaints about this game. Complaint number 1, town improvement quests. 90% of the time it's just gathering stone, wood, and money, over and over again, more and more each time. It's absolutely awesome that every such project has its own cutscenes, but the process itself is rather boring. But perhaps it's so boring because of complaint number 2, which is the early access. Because the game is in early access, obviously there's only so much content in it. I mean, there's still plenty, but friendships can only go up to 4 hearts, and there's no romance yet. So after maxing out friendships with everyone I like the most and seeing all available heart events, I simply ran out of sugar, and the only thing left for me to do is work. I was probably a bit too aggressive in my pursuit of friendship, should have rationed it. But if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that story and friendships and relationships are actually my favorite elements of those games. Besides, I probably focus on those building projects too much anyway. But it's true that collecting significant amounts of stone and wood and money over and over again is hardly the most satisfying of activities, especially since I always feel like I'm gonna run out of trees on my farm. I know I can cut down trees anywhere and they will automatically regrow the next day as long as they're not on my land. But I kind of feel reluctant to do so, it doesn't feel right. So this little box is my enemy now. I was also initially disappointed when it comes to using tools, because it requires clicking the mouse every time. 1 click, 1 hit. And after a while it started to be a bit tiring. But then I discovered we can assign a separate key for the repeated use of tools in the settings, which is great. But I wish the game recognized side mouse buttons, because the only thing I can use here is either something on the keyboard or the mouse wheel, which is almost worse than continuous clicking. Yeah, give me a finger and I'll complain I can't have the whole hand. But in this case, it would actually be very useful. Okay, let's get back to the things I love about this game, like music. It uses the same retro-sounding samples as Stardew Valley or Sun Haven, but the compositions themselves have that retro feel as well. They feel old, which is amazing. I especially love the pieces that play in the mines because there's a lot of those old school dance bass lines that simply scream the 80s and anime and my childhood, and it's wonderful. Now, I know some people are allergic to new farm sims always being compared to Stardew Valley, but Stardew Valley is the modern template for those, so it's kind of inevitable, especially when we're dealing with the same basic idea: pixel art, farming, retro music, and anime-inspired character design. Of course I'm going to compare them. If only because Stardew is so well known that I can quickly and easily explain what to expect based on this example. But I'll be brief. First of all, if you love Stardew Valley, you're probably gonna love Fields of Mistria. The main difference, apart from the graphic design, is the setting and the atmosphere. Stardew is much more modern and it's much more inspired by Studio Ghibli. It actually tackles many serious psychological issues. And it has magic, but the magic in it is a lot more, I don't know how to put this, nostalgic, discreet even, in a way. Fields of Mistria is more like a typical fantasy anime series from a certain time, which doesn't make it inferior, just different. It's also nostalgic, but in a completely different way. It's definitely much more fantasy, a bit of an anachronisms too as well, which is also typical for anime, but definitely we're dealing with a much less modern setting. We don't have buses, TVs, and computers here, but we do have clothes from multiple different eras and genres, and I love it. Especially Reina, she is so cute and looks so nice in all her clothes, she's almost edible. Ugh! In any case, I love Fields of Mistria. It's a delectable and charming game that's even more delectable and charming because of the retro feel and this old-school, heartwarming, familiar atmosphere. It doesn't chastise you, it doesn't preach, it doesn't try to be too current, it allows you to just leave all the problems behind and enter this pleasant fantasy world filled with warmth, sense of community, and ancient secrets, and enjoy some good, old-fashioned, well-crafted storytelling. I honestly want to give everybody at the NPC Studio a big hug and thank them for giving me this lovely door leading to the time when I was much more excited about everything. And frankly, I can't wait for the next update. So, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you in my next video. Take care.